Thank you, Elizabeth. Bonjour, mes amis. Welcome, everyone, to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa, whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be. Know that you are welcome. I'm the Reverend Eric, this congregation's lead minister, and it's great to be back with you after a little time away this summer. First, I want to say, the room was cooler without y'all in it. I don't want to tell you to stop breathing, but cool it. That's humor, or at least an attempt. I'm joined by our worship associate this morning, Mary, and Elizabeth is leading music for us this morning. So without further ado, let us begin by joining our voices in song. Please rise in body and or in spirit as we sing together For All That Is Our Life, number 128 in our gray hymnal.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Mary, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Whether you are taking part in this worship celebration from your home or wherever else you may be, whenever you log on, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those that have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch during this protracted pandemic. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall with us this morning and you would like more information about FirstU, it is available at the welcome table at the back of the pews, and Lisa is waving to you from there. And now, here is Brent from our board to highlight our announcements for today.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Next Sunday, August 20th, we will have our annual Pride service with a special guest speaker, Faye Johnstone, a trailblazing trans woman and this year's Capital Pride Grand Marshal. Following Sunday service will be followed by a gender and pronouns workshop in the afternoon in Fellowship Hall. Snacks will be provided for workshop participants, so please see the EUU for a link in which you can sign up. The following Sunday, August 27th, after service, please plan to march with FirstU in the Capital Pride Parade downtown. We hope to see you there. The Justice and Equity Action Group is seeking grocery donations to help support the young adults participating in our Ajaski program. Specific details of meats and cheeses and staples are in this week's EUU, and you can drop off donations in the Grow Tower room, which is under the exit sign over there. Registration is now open for the Canadian Unitarian Council's Young Adult Retreat, known as Unicamp. Unicamp will happen September 8th through 11th, over a weekend, in Honeywood, Ontario, northwest of Toronto, and is open to all young adults aged 18 to 35. You can register on the CUC's website, www.cuc.ca. We encourage you to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check out our Facebook and Instagram pages and our webpage for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be full of activities, both online and in person. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and whoever you are, today you are part of our spiritual community. Welcome.
Thank you, Brent. To begin this morning's reflection on the gifts of challenges of this particular summer, we light our chalice this morning to these words of welcome by Ian W. Riddell. Come one, come all. Come with your missing pieces and your extra screws, with your hard edges and soft spots, with your bowed heads and upright spines. Come all you flamboyant or drab, verbose and quiet, fidgeting and lethargic, all you with large vision and tender hearts, all you with courage and tender fears. Bring your lisp and your stutter and your song. Bring your gravel and your drawl and your lilt. Bring your anger and your joy and your righteous indignation. Misfits and conformists and everyone in between, come into this space and know you are welcome. Bring who you are, bring where you've traveled, bring what you long for, and let us worship together. Our chalice is lit. If we had young ones with us, I know we have people who are young at heart here, but if we had young ones with us, I'd go down there. But I haven't memorized all of this that I want to tell all of you of all ages, so I'm going to stay up here if that's all right. Now, people in our faith tradition are known for our reverence for the truth. But we also revere what is important, and sometimes the two can be distinct. This reverence for what is important can be seen in our love of the classics, such as E.B. White's masterpiece, Stuart Little. In the following passage, our diminutive hero is substitute teaching for Mrs. Gunderson. he asks the class, "How many of you students know what's important?" Up went all the hands. Up goes all the hands. Who knows what's important? All right. "Very good," said Stuart, cocking one leg across the other and shoving his hands in his pockets of his jacket. "Henry, tell us what's important." And Henry answers, "A shaft of sunlight at the dark end of an afternoon, a lingering note in music, and the way the back of a baby's neck smells when its mother keeps it tidy." "Correct," said Stuart. "Those are the important things. Though you forgot one. Mary, what did Henry forget?" "He forgot ice cream with chocolate sauce on it." "Exactly. Ice cream is important." And it's ice cream, just that ice cream, that I want to talk a little bit about today, because Unitarian Universalists invented the ice cream sundae. At least we say we did. I know, much rejoicing, Andrew, in the back. But there are some different versions of this. Not everyone agrees. Origin stories can be tricky. The good folks of Two Rivers, Wisconsin, on the shore of Lake Michigan, lay claim to having invented ice cream sundaes when, in 1881, George Holler asked Edwin C. Berner, the owner of a soda fountain in town, to top a dish of ice cream with chocolate sauce, hitherto used only for ice cream sodas. The concoction cost a nickel and soon became very popular, but was only sold on Sundays. And one day, a 10-year-old girl insisted she had a dish of ice cream with that stuff on top, saying they could pretend it was Sunday. After that, the concoction was sold every day and in many flavors. But then another claim to the title, the origins of ice cream sundaes, was made by the Unitarians in Ithaca in upstate New York. Seems that back in 1892, their minister, the Reverend John M. Scott, was visiting with a congregant, Charles Platt, who co-owned a pharmacy in town. On a whim, as the story goes, Platt covered dishes of ice cream with cherry syrup and candied cherries on top, and the cherry sundae was born. You will note that in Wisconsin and everywhere, 1881 comes before 1892. Well, the good folks along the shore of Lake Michigan have their claim, but they can't back it up. The Smarty Pat Unitarians in upstate New York have documentation. On April 5th, 1892, Platt's Pharmacy placed an ad for cherry sundaes. Nowadays, you can look up ice cream sundaes on Wikipedia. There are those and two other origin stories available, but it really doesn't matter. Ice cream sundaes are something that have stayed with us. And I had not talked to this congregation about ice cream sundaes. It's usually the way I like to begin a summer, sort of an end of the church year thing, and we'll have ice cream sundaes. I kind of forgot to do that the last 2 years. So we're going to have ice cream sundaes during coffee hour after the service today. And if that goes well, we'll do it again on our in-gathering on September 10th. I was going to say there's a small bowl of ice cream calling my name, but I have a little more work to do first. We don't have children to sing out, but let's sing them out anyhow. I see Elizabeth there looking like, "Eric, are we going to do this or not?" At the very least, this can be practice again for when we do. The words should be on the screen. Thank you, Elizabeth. Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of both the joys and sorrows, the challenges of our lives and the lives of those across the globe. We honor our celebrations and challenges by placing a stone in a bowl of water. As the ripples extend outward, we can imagine them continuing out beyond the bowl, out through the pews, out through the doors into the community at large. I'll place stones in a minute, but first, a recognition of a joy. Jody, stand up, Jody, will be soon starting a new job. After several interviews with other candidates, she has been selected this congregation's next Director of Religious Exploration. Congratulations. Partners in crime are we. We place a stone as well for our beloved Werner, who is recovering at the Civic following a stroke last week. And a stone for our member, Phyllis. While her health had been declining, this is Phyllis Eleazar. While her health had been declining, she died early Friday morning, an event that caught even those closest to her off guard. A celebration of her life will be held here on Wednesday, August 23rd. We invite you now to come forward if you have stones of challenge, joy, or sorrow as well. Caring cards for Werner and for Phyllis's family are at the back of the hall for us all to sign. Even if you don't know them, this is a way for us to extend our care and appreciation on behalf of those who have given so much to this community of faith. I invite you now into a time of stillness and reflection before Elizabeth brings us back together with the gift of music.
I offer you today's reading in honor of the tradition of summer reads. And this is the beginning of the prologue of Katerina Engelmann Sundberg's novel, The Little Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules. And by the way, Reverend Eric promises me he did not have me in mind when he chose this selection. And I have to tell you, Reverend Eric, I never even thought that you might have me in mind until you mentioned it. Just saying. So, the little old lady gripped the handles of her walker, hung her walking stick next to the shopping basket, and did her best to look assertive. After all, a woman of 79 about to commit her first bank robbery needed to project an air of authority. She straightened her back, pulled her hat down over her forehead, and thrust open the door. Supported by her frame, she walked slowly and determinedly into the bank. It was 5 minutes before closing time, and 3 customers were waiting in the queue. The walker squeaked faintly. She had greased it with olive oil, but one of the wheels had been wobbly ever since she had collided with the cleaning trolley at the retirement home. Not that it really mattered. The most important thing was that it had a large basket with room for a lot of money. Martha Anderson from Södermalm, Stockholm, walked with a slight stoop, wearing a plain coat of nondescript color, chosen especially to avoid attracting attention. She was smaller than average and solidly built, but not fat. She wore sensible, dark walking shoes, which would be perfect for a quick escape if it was necessary. That was assuming she was still able to pick up speed to run. It wasn't something she had attempted in a number of years, so she might have to settle for a brisk trot. Her heavily veined hands were hidden inside a pair of well-used leather gloves, and her short white hair was concealed under a wide-brimmed brown hat. She had wrapped a neon-colored scarf around her neck, so if a photo was taken of her with a flash, it would automatically overexpose the rest of the picture, and her facial features would disappear. The scarf was mainly an extra safety measure, since her mouth and nose were shadowed by her hat. But if she had to be old, she might as well be wise, too.
Thank you, Mary. Summertime. When we're not robbing banks, and on days where the rain holds off like it looks like it's still doing, it's time of year to lay back in a clear pond or lake and feel yourself suspended between the cool water below you and the endless blue sky above, to rest in the grace of the world. That is my abiding memory of the gifts of summer. When I was growing up, there was a member of my family's congregation, Alan Hamilton, who owned a farm, and he plowed an acre or so for members of the congregation who would want to come and have their gardens at his place. And we noticed then that there were a couple of ponds, and so we spent most mornings as a family. Mom would drive my brother and I out there, and we would weed and water. And then I realized I could bike out there and go fishing. And sometimes I would brave the muck at the end of the little pond, and I'd go out and lay on my back, and I'd be able to see almost the whole sky with the cattails circling the pond. And it's that memory, that image, that every summer I want to return to. Summertimes when life should be that simple again. But I'll tell you, this year, reading the prologue to the story that Mary just shared with us, that's as simple as it's gotten for me this year. As many of you know, my wife and I had to put down my dog at the beginning of the summer, late in June. Bowie had the fastest acting lymphoma our vet had ever seen. We went away to Ohio, we drove down, and Anne noticed that one of his lymph nodes was enlarged before we left, and by the time we got back, they all were. We had a biopsy on Wednesday, got the results on Thursday afternoon, and on Friday we put Bowie down. And so the summer has been one of finding new equilibrium in the home. We still have one dog, Sammy, so we, instead of being a family of 4, we're now a family of 3, but my dog died. It takes some getting used to. And then there's the fact, even before Bowie, that the day I drove out to get the oil changed in the car, before we drove down, the sky was brown because of the wildfires. I had noticed the smell in the air the day before. When I drove out to Canadian Tire, the sky was brown. Well, maybe realistically, honestly, light brown, but since when is the sky supposed to be beige? That's not right. And now Maui has burned as well, and I learned from someone this morning there's a fire on the Big Island of Hawaii. Closer to home, tornadoes have returned. And in non-weather news, we've learned what many suspected, that the right hand was not communicating with the left during the planning of our light rail system. The trains and tracks were not designed to work together. Huh? Boggles the mind. With all of that as background, many of us relished the distraction of Barbenheimer, that opening weekend mashup of the two films Barbie and Oppenheimer. Now, did you know that Barbie's director, Greta Gerwig, is Unitarian? Couple did. All right, good. I haven't seen Barbie yet. I haven't been in a movie theater in 3.5 years. But Greta Gerwig's favorite movie that I have seen, in the movie Lady Bird, which is wonderful. There's a lovely scene at the Unitarian Universalist of Sacramento, California, where Gerwig grew up, that features my colleague, Doug Kraft. So go see Lady Bird, it's great. But I digress. Moving on to the global stage, there's been a military coup in Niger and increasing drone attacks in and by both Russia and Ukraine. This has led to a really weird summer. Does it seem that way to you? I may be an outlier, but it's just been weird. I mean, I know stuff goes on and stuff has always gone on, but woof. So in the story that Mary began for us, in which that particular little old lady and 4 of her friends from her retirement home attempt a life of crime, that's a welcome distraction. Now, let me tell you a little more about the plot of that story. I'm going to work not to give anything away, but their retirement home has come under new management. And the quality across the board that had been really high, they loved living there, has been declining steadily as those who are now in charge enrich themselves at the expense of the residents who live there. And a group of them who are in a choir at the home, they watch a documentary on the Swedish prison system. And it looks like the prisoners are getting better care than they are. So they figure, they might as well embark on a life of crime to see if they can get jailed and improve their situation. Heartfelt hilarity ensues. Now, beyond making one point about the story, I'll leave the rest of you whether you want to read it or not. The point is that the pensioners, and they call themselves the League of Pensioners, it's a great title, they discover an interesting effect of this life of crime. They feel alive again. Their days had been passive, and now they're worrying, they're active, they're doing stuff again. They didn't anticipate this, but they enjoy it. They don't want their life of crime to stop. And that reminded me of an oft-quoted and often misquoted phrase of Albert Camus. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. The little old lady who broke all the rules and her friends simply needed to do something, to take charge of something in order to rediscover the invincible summer at the heart of her being, of their beings. Now, Camus was writing in the early 1950s after returning to the Algeria of his birth from his chosen home in Paris. The line is from his essay, Return to Tipasa. And Tipasa is a Roman ruin of a city, a town on the coast of the Mediterranean, west of Camus' native Algiers. He's ruminating on the horrors of the then recent Second World War, on what has been lost, and the cost of all of it on human souls. Reading the essay for the first time since college, a line in it I had originally glossed over jumped out at me. I'm quoting here. Originally innocent without knowing it, we were now guilty without meaning to be. Now, Camus was talking about war, but the line sums up much of our approach, and I'm generalizing here, our society's approach to the global climate crisis, doesn't it? We were now guilty without meaning to be. Friends, we, and I'm certainly counting myself among this group, are among the most guilty here in the industrial West. Yes, we're making strides, but the example we've come to lead the rest of the world is a dangerous one. If anything, the fires and the floods of the last few months have left no room to argue that the climate crisis is a made-up, woke, liberal notion. No, it's true. It's here. Look around. Maybe this summer we need to focus, maybe the summer we need to focus on enjoying right now is less time laying back on the cool water of any pond or lake, time at the albeit lovely cottage, and one more hopefully to look at what might revitalize the invincible summer within us. To return to Camus, here is his writing from 1940 as the roots of the war in Europe deepen and spread. And this is from his essay titled, The Almond Trees. Our task is to find the few principles that will calm the infinite anguish of free souls. We must mend what has been torn apart, make justice imaginable again, and in a world so obviously unjust, give happiness a meaning once more to peoples poisoned by the misery of the century. Naturally, This is a superhuman task. But superhuman is the term for tasks it takes a long time to accomplish. That's all. Superhuman is the term for tasks it takes a long time to accomplish. That's all. So, friends, let me ask you, as we can no longer deny the effect of the way that we have been living, anyone up for trying to be a superhero now and then? See what we can do? I'll leave it there. We've got a little bit more. We've got some singing to do, some ice cream to enjoy, and then a world to help come alive and love.
I invite the ushers to start passing the baskets at this time. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, in bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that are now beginning to make their way among our pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of the community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now, let us sing together once more. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing Love Will Guide Us, which you'll find at 131 in your gray hymnal and probably on the slides. Love will guide us.
Love
Before we begin to close this time of worship and celebration, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall immediately after this service. If you are here for the first time, or if you have been before but still feel a little new, pick up a green mug as you enter Fellowship Hall, and then get coffee or tea or whatever other beverage you choose. The mug will help us recognize you as someone who is or feels new and allow us to greet you individually. We hope all you newcomers will come back and often. For those watching at home, an informal online fellowship hour will begin at noon. You can find the Zoom link on our congregation's website or in Friday's EUU newsletter. You can subscribe to the EUU on the communications page of the church website. Also, leafy greens, courtesy of the good folks of Ajaski, are available for those who would like some from the grow towers in the old volunteer room just to this side of Fellowship Hall. And now, as we prepare to extinguish our chalice, may Jennifer Pratt Walter's reflection titled Hope be our guide. See how the winds have shaped her hands to hold hope. So tenuous it trembles like a hummingbird's heart. She gently carries hope to a nest in the midst of the maelstrom and tilts it into a bowl of tiny feathers. Hope is so hard to cup. She might need your help. When it seeps through, the hope does, through the cracks of her fingers. Place your hands like this around hers. Together it can be done. And when hope hatches, the nest is no more, watch the wind pick it up and lay hope the welcome. This morning's chalice is extinguished, but the spark of our connections and faith remain. Elizabeth, singers, will you bless us once more? Reach out, if you will, to those around and beyond us in this space. We are people of both reason and heart, of both memory and hope. may we also always remain a people of love, providing a place in this world for our spirit, a place that best can be called home. As now we return to the challenge of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward in peace with a little step, jump in our step. Let us go forward in peace, my friends. Go in peace. And enjoy the ice cream as well as our postlude.